Okay, you can see I've got a nice little lineup here of all bits that I've collected. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I go about um, reusing these bits to make new pastels. And I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Most of them use about the same materials. So I'm just going to go through the materials first so that if you're interested in doing this, you know exactly what it is you need to do based on what I'm going to show you. Let me put that to the side. Okay. I would suggest if you're doing this, it's going to be dusty. Put a mask on. Um, if you're just going to be playing around with little bits, you're probably all right. But if you're going to be sitting there making pastels for a while, there's a certain level of dust that is going to appear. So you don't want to be breathing that in. You want to have some form of an eyedropper so that you can drop, oh, there it is, you can drop distilled water into the pastel powder that we're going to make. I've used regular water. I've not noticed that using regular water causes a problem, but the majority of times, I mean, distilled water doesn't have, the finer traits of residue of things in water. That sounds horrible. Who wants to drink water if it's got residues and stuff in it? But anyway, it's filtered. So, that is first choice. Also, I mean, I have plastic ones, and that's because, I don't really use regular paints, acrylics, uh, oils, water soluble oils. So I do really use just the plastic ones. They work fine. I have a large one like this so that I can do a lot of like cutting, and you'll see me do that, mixing. And then I just have these that I use for the initial mixing and for patting down. I try to keep one. You can see they're very, very slight. And I mean, this is really just a stain, so it really would not matter if I use one for the other. But one I tend to use for cooler colors, and one I tend to use for warmer colors. This one's got a slight blue cast, and this has a slight red cast. That's just because it's stained the plastic. It's not because it's going to come off. So you're going to be okay if you just have one. The other thing that you'll need, and this was the good old Christmas tree shop. Don't we miss that? So some sort of mortar and pestle. If you don't have something like that, you just want a sturdy, solid container and something that you can press in. So before I got this, what I was using was just a shallow tin, and I had a plastic spoon that was a very rigid spoon so I could press into it. A metal spoon would work out fine. At this point, you don't want anything that is porous. So you want something that's a plastic, or like in this case, it's some sort of probably fake stone. Maybe it's real stone. I don't know. Christmas shop, you could never tell. It's really heavy though, so I'm thinking it's real. This is optional, but I am going to show you how to use it. And if you have a fine sieve, that would work out perfect. I don't have one. It's something that I don't, when I use this, I don't actually use this all the time. So I have just kind of figured out that this needlepoint plastic um, material here is going to work a little bit like a sieve. So you'll see how that works. And it's just, I save all the food containers. I have a variety of sizes around here. And they're super handy for stacking. You'll see that in a minute. I've already showed you the distilled water. Okay, if you don't have that, filtered water, regular water, paper towels, you'll need them. This is actually rubbing alcohol, and you may need that to spritz your pastel if it starts to feel like it's too dry and you don't want to actually drop water in, giving it a little spritz. Rubbing alcohol will dry a little quicker. Certainly could use regular water too, but especially for today, doing it on a demo, I want to make sure that things dry. Now, typically I would use, I've got a couple of these different plastic um, sleeves that are really sturdy, and I would mix on this. It's creating an awful lot of reflection from the light that I have overhead. So I am going to do it on a piece of foam core. And I know that this coating here, I'm just going to, I would not use this all the time because it is going to start to bubble and come off. But for the purposes of the demo, you're not going to have the glare of the light. But I wanted you to see that this piece of plexiglass would work. If you, had old chopping blocks that are made out of plastic, again, something that's non-porous, anything at all like that would be fine. So that's what I'm going to recommend, but this is what I'm going to use so we don't have the glare. Some parchment paper is handy. Not totally necessary, but I'm going to show you what you can do with the parchment paper. I think I already said the gloves, got one on already. For the purposes of the video today, I do have out the color wheel and the grayscale to show you different values. So we're going to also talk about what happens, how do we make a new color, and what do we have to consider when we start putting colors together. So I have those out so I can use them just to show you. And I have a, I'm not really going to pull that out all the time, but up here I did just put a little color wheel. It's a little bit smaller. It's not really quite in the way like the big one, and I can just reference that for you guys. And I just wanted to show you a little one that I've made. That I like these rectangular flat ones. You can certainly make them into more of your stick form, but I prefer these when I make my own because they're a little bit bigger. You get the nice sweep of the side and the edges. They're not quite as fragile as the stick ones. And I thought I had a stick one here. I think hang on a second. Let me just, yeah, I put it back here. Here's one of the stick ones. And they do tend to break a little bit easier. And I'm thinking that one of the reasons that they may break for me is because I have really never bothered to buy gum Arabic, which is a medium that helps the materials stick together. And partly I haven't used that before is because I'm using all pastel dust and broken bits. That has it in it already. So I'm not particularly concerned about that. But I have noticed that when I make too thin of a stick, they do break easy. And it's very possible it's because it needs the gum Arabic. But I do this maybe once every couple of years. So, I'm not doing it a lot. So I'm not gonna go out and buy one more thing. Oh my gosh. Let's see, I think I got everything on here. Any questions on any of the materials? And I'm going to tell you about the colors that I have. Any questions on the materials? Perfect. Don't feel free. Ask questions as we go along. Okay, what I tend to do is I don't bother with lids and everything. These are all going to be sitting in a drawer. I'm not going to have to worry about them tipping over, but this is what I do. I have some where let me get this so my hand's not creating a shadow. This one's just like a little mixture of a whole load of different colors. Okay, I've just thrown them in there. And then what I'll do, oh, this guy here feels like he's a little green. I'm going to stick him over there. Okay. I think of it as like color. So it's color connection. And this goes along with the color wheel idea. Okay. So are these colors that really are analogous? So that what I can do is I can look at them and say, yeah, the majority of these, yeah, that one's a little pinky color there, do fall in that yellow, orange, a little bit of orange in there. This is another guy I'm not sure of, so, oh no, he is yellow. That's it. Remember, a lot of times you can't go by the colors there. And then you can see a lot on the blue end here. I've got a couple of violets of darker, duller violet, very fine. That one I've already used the pestle to and mortar there so that I've got it fine. Now, this is important, okay? If you look here, see the way these are all about the same value. Not all the same from the same stick. There's a variety. Some of them are a little bluer, greener, blue-green, blue-violet, but they're basically all the same value. Same with this one. They're all basically the same value. I see some colors that are a little bit lighter. This one here feels like it's got a little bit more chroma to them. Not bright, but or vivid. These guys look a little dull, but they're definitely a violet cast to them. I do separate at some point by value also, because if I'm going to be making a stick and I don't want it to go lighter or darker than my combination here, I have to make sure I don't have too many dark colors in here or light colors. These I would say is like a medium light. The same with that. So I've got the light ones. This guy here, he was all, oh yeah, this is that other one I showed you. Okay, so there's greens. These are falling a little bit. Oh, this guy might be a little light. Here's one that you can see. These are a little bit more medium, a little bit lighter. And that one's a little bit darker. So I do try to do that. I can't say I always do, but I do try to do that. You know, it does make a difference. What do I have underneath? Some of these are, oh yeah, look at that one. This one here was really funny because that one's got like a lot of iridescent in it too. And to me, I look at that, and of course I can't remember, but I look at this and I say, it's very possible this is a stick that actually broke. Sometimes, you know, you get a you drop them, you know, you put the lid on your plein air box and you push too hard and something's in the wrong spot. So this one feels like it's a lot of the same color. Just can't remember. So if that happened, I would definitely put it in a separate little container. And these, I believe, are probably just the ones that come with, you know, like when you get an Asian meal and they give you all the sauces. Save all of them. And then I tend to put all my really super lights together so that what happens is I can make, well, this guy might be on the border. So I'm going to show you what I would do with that. Let me put that to the side. And this is the ones that I took out that I had on. Are you seeing inside the cup all right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
This is the one that there's I posted the photograph of. So this is the way it winds up being. My pastel trays in my home, it's you know, about 3 times the size of this space right here. And they have troughs on the edges. And when I have broken bits, I put them on the edges. So they kind of collect there. I'm not that organized that I sit down every week and I collect my colors. I really don't. But I do have a system so that when I do go around to do it, you know, they're all sitting there right on the edges. I did mention I never did get around to doing my plein air box today. But the reality of it is I know I'm going to have bits in my pastel plein air box. You know, it's a great box. It protects the pastels quite a bit, but just the nature of moving it around, they do tend to get a little bit more broken. And sometimes, yes, I push the lid down too hard. So here are, okay, just save any of these little containers. They work out really good. And then oh, this color, look at these colors. Now, these I kept separate. Okay, this one's far more vivid. Okay, that's a very vivid color in there. Let me move that out of the way so you can see it. It's very vivid. This one is a little duller. It's still a beautiful, beautiful rosy pink, but I don't know if I'm going to mix them or if I'm going to just try to collect more, because if I take a muted color like this, as pretty as it is, and I put it with this color that's got a lot more chroma, let me just pull out one of these little pieces here. Okay, a lot of chroma in that. And if I mix those two, I'm going to lessen the intensity of that color. So there's another reason to keep things separate. Okay, so you can separate by color family or hue, and then you can separate by value. You don't necessarily have to, but I was going to say if you're going to get in the habit of collecting your bits, all this stuff is free. It's just leftover stuff. Oh, actually, for a while there, you know those cute little Dixie cups that you can get in the, it seems as though I usually get them in the summertime for all different sorts of projects and things, but they work out really nice. The disadvantage of them is they're a little bit deeper, and because they're a little bit deeper, sometimes it's hard to see all the colors, whereas this is shallow, so I don't have the sides of a cup that interfere with it. Okay, so I was going to just show you this, so we're just gonna let me just put down something because I realized if I go a different direction. So this is what I thought would be handy to show you. So these are the colors that I took out of my box. And let me get another glove on. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to think wherever we put this color, it is either going to partner up with the colors that already exist. Their hue is the same, the value would be the same. Or what we're going to do is we're going to mix it with another color to create a new color. So let's look at this. This orange is pretty vibrant, okay? It's also a very small piece. I don't necessarily like this. I'm surprised I even have it in there because I would actually probably paint with that. So my pieces are tiny. Mine are like, you can't hold them anymore. Look at how lovely and bright that is. I would probably not put it in either of those oranges because this brilliant color is going to disappear in there. And even if I thought I would like kick up the vibrancy of this little section here, I don't have enough to do that. So I'm going to put that to the side because I'm just not going to waste it. I might have more coming up. Let's see if we have another. This one here has got like a little pinkish flavor to it. Look to it. It's pretty muted. And but this little pink with a violet, and of course violet right here is made of red and blue. This has got a pinkish flavor. Oh, what? I don't know why I'm saying flavor. I really don't eat them. That's a pinkish color to it. So I'm going to put that right there. There's another one. Look at how vibrant this is. It's going to get lost in there. Okay, but for now, what I'm going to do, I might wind up doing this as an example. So I'm just going to put it there because there's another violet. I'm going to put it there. I'm not separating those by value because they're pretty much middle. That vibrant one's a little darker value than the other ones, and that one might be a little bit lighter, but they might balance each other off. Okay, that's it on those guys. So they're going to go back. Got a blue, a little bit lighter. That'll be fine in there. I got a couple of greens in here. Okay, so I'm looking at the value. Okay, I'm going to put it in here. This one here has a little bit more yellow to it, but it's still a greenish cast. And you can always test it off by, making a little mark. I'm going to stick it right in here. This one here, you can tell value-wise it's going a little bit darker. I'm going to put it here. This one here, it's darker than that. It's too light for this though. I'm going to stick that in there. Look at all these little bits. That'll go in there. That'll go in there. Oh, here's an aqua. That is like so small, and I don't actually have an aqua. So I'm going to stick it in with the green. Okay, this is a very, very, very faint green. It looks like it has a lot of white in it. So that's even lighter than what I have here. And it's probably not a color I'm going to get a lot of. So I could have I have a choice of sticking them with the greens that are already there, or I could say, oh, I wonder what would happen if I put it in here, because I already have some blue green. So if I put this very light color in here, that might actually work. I'm just going to have fun and play with it. Oh, there's another little blue. I'm going to stick it there. So that's what I'm thinking of when I'm doing that. I'm thinking, okay, what color family or hue and what value. So I'm just going to, oh, there's another one of those little pinks, but it's not going to go with those two pinks I have. So I'm going to put it back in there with the violets. Because again, it's analogous, so the pink will be fine with the violet. I'm going to put that to the side. Let's go like this. I'm going to show you what the end result's going to be like. This is what we're going for. Going for a really fine powder. And in order to do that, you want to make sure that there's no pieces of paper, any residue from other objects, bristles from a brush, dust particles. And you want to do that before you do this. You can do it after it too, but you want to do it before, and then you do it again afterwards. So let's see. Ooh, which one of these? Well, if I do this, think of the colors that are in there. Okay, they're all about the same value, but I have a whole load of different colors. I have green, I have oranges and reds, I've got some blues. This is like a little catch-all area. I've got a lot of colors that look like they fall on the neutral end. So this is what you have to consider, okay? If I've got greens, okay, and I also have reds, okay, doesn't matter where they fall here or where they fall here. Got a little bit of oranges, a little bit of reds, got some pinks. I've got, then a variety of greens here. If I put opposites together, I'm going to make a neutral color. So it will neither be reddish cast or orangish cast nor green, okay? They're going to neutralize and they're going to make what could be a really nice neutral color, which is what happened with this one, okay? It was a variety of colors that were complementary colors that when they're mashed together, they wind up creating a neutral color. So if you want to play it safe, you stick with colors that are analogous and next to each other, or you stick with a color family, like your reds. Or if you want to just really create a new color that's a neutral, you go for opposites. Let's say with well, I don't actually have, oh, let's talk about it with the greens. Okay, with my greens, okay, I have dark, I have middle, and I have light. So I could actually create a new green by using the three different values that would merge together. Some of these are yellow green, some of these are blue green. So depending on the quantity of the blue green versus the yellow green, my pastel stick could go one way or another. So let's put, oh geez. Now that I've started talking about it, now I'm not sure what I want to do. Look at these here. All those bits there. Those are my reds. Here's a whole load of violet. For some reason, I have a whole load of violets. I don't know if that's a stick that wound up gotten. Okay, I think considering the amount of pastel I have here, I'm going to show you it with the greens, since that's what I have the most of, and you can see what happens when we make a new color. Okay, so the first thing I would do, I just give it a little eyeball look in here, see if I see any bits of paper. It's amazing. Sometimes they're hiding underneath things. I have a couple of really large pieces. I'm just going to take them out first because I want to be able to really mash them down. I'm going to save the smaller pieces for later. And I think I'm going to go for something that's in between the light and the middle. So that one's another large piece. And this is where I can be a little selective and I can say, ooh, that guy, I'm going to put him with the darks. I'm going to start being a little bit more selective and saying, ooh, I had that in there, but I think that would be better with the darks. And now I'm just looking for a medium and that would go well with what I have here. Looks as though this is when it starts making up its own mind. I have a lot of yellow greens in here. I always find it funny when you wind up with like, where did I get all these? That little piece of blue. And just for fun, I'm gonna go to this mismatch one. And look at, I've got little pieces of yellow greens in here. I'm gonna stick them in here too, since I know I'm going on a, what happens when I mix yellow greens that are light and yellow and blue greens that are middle to middle light. Let's leave that to the side. Let's put those over there. Put that there, not using the dark ones at all. Okay, eyeballed it, this is okay, I'm gonna get in here. Whoops, I don't know what that is, move that to the side. Make sure you can see in here, all right? There's a little bit of cast shadow there, I'm gonna try to do it this way, so let's get in there. You're using a heavy spoon. You're just gonna stick, I wish I'd brought a heavy spoon in, sorry about that. You wanna stick your hand right into you're using the back of the spoon. You wanna stick your hand, almost as if you were making like those thumbprint cookies, but you're really pressing hard. And you're gonna grind this up as much as you can. Get those pieces out there. Oh, look it. Somebody snuck in. Look what was right there. I got a dark color right there. See that dark one right there? It's like, okay, as careful as I was. I've got a couple that are a little bit, there's one that's like a real brownie cast yellow. When it goes a little darker, it winds up looking more brown. Wipe it off every once in a while. Now, if you don't have a lot and you don't want to waste the pastel, then I would suggest that what you do is okay, I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. If you don't want to waste your pastels because you haven't collected a lot, I would say your best bet is to focus on just making small little sticks. And we're gonna, rather than trying to collect enough to make a nice big stick, like a Cherry Ludwig or even bigger like a Mount Vision. You want to, and we're going to use this. We're going to just take some of the edge off so I don't want to wipe too much of that. I'm going to get any particles that stick in there. I can look in there and I can see I've got a few more particles. Maybe go around. What happens if you don't get it fine? What it means is you're just going to wind up having bits that are actually in your stick. So when it dries, the bits stay there, they stay intact. And sometimes it's kind of cool because you kind of get this like real fun little funky pastel mark that's made because you've got fine pastel ground and then you've got pastel ground that has a couple of pieces of small pastel in it, and that makes its own little mark on top of everything. But if you want it to be, and you just keep going around, this takes a little bit, going round and round.
So Betsy,
Yeah,
so you're not concerned at all about the softness quality of the individual bits, like some, you know what I'm saying? Like some may be
yeah,
softer than other manufacturers.
that's a good question. The majority of my pastels are going to be in the soft range, which means there's probably not going to be a lot of new pastel or Rembrandt in here. And twofold, what happens is that means that I know that I'm using more pure pigment because that's one of the biggest differences between the hard and soft is the purity of the pigment. It has less binder in it. But what it also means is when you're making your pastel, if most of them are soft and they all have the relatively the same kind and amount of binder in it, your pastel is going to just stick together. If you used hard and soft together, it's not going to make any difference. What would happen is because the hard pastel has more binding agent in it, probably would be more binding agent, which would make sense when you ground it up. So it may actually be a benefit because you wouldn't have to worry about having that gum arabic around. because it's already in the new pastel, the Rembrandt, those are your harder ones. And clearly there is, binding agent in the really soft pastels too. Just going around and just making sure I get all that out. I'm gonna wipe that down just a second over here. Okay, so I'm gonna look in here. And I can see that I've got some little bits still in here. I've got a lot that's, trying to get that, got a lot that's, but see, we can't, those colors have all merged now into a new color, new value, and as expected, there's a lot of yellow green. It has a lovely yellow green feeling to it. Can't have enough of greens around here. I'm just feeling through, making sure there's no hair, there's no brush bristles, there's nothing in it. So what happens is if there was, I'm not going to take and do it, but let's say you got through this stage and you said, oh my gosh, I can see, little bits of something other than pastel in there. You could shake it into some sort of a sieve and knock it off. And then of course what stays on top is the larger pieces. So I'll just show you with this. I'm just going to put this in here. Okay. Put it through here. Okay, and I have the disadvantage of this is you do lose some of your pastel. So then what you want to do is you want to come back in and then just see the way it knocks right off. Oh, let me move that in. Knock it right off. Goes back in. So there weren't any particles of anything else in there. Everything was pretty small. So I'm gonna dump that in there. And guess what? Somewhere along the line, I wasn't paying attention. Look what I have. Can you see in there? I have a rogue color because I did not check this before I went and put the colors into Civet. Oh, geez. So now what I have to do is I have to go back in and mix it up because that blue sitting there all by itself is going to just create a streak in my pastel stick. And I want to just really move that around and get it right up into that edge. So I don't see any traces of that rogue blue. It's kind of like that dark color that we saw. Totally gone. You can't see where that dark color is. And unless you want to create like a funky pastel stick that has, let me scrape that, that has like a surprise color that shows up in it, you want to really make sure it's all totally blended. I've done that a number of times where something dries and the next thing I know, I've got like a little bit of a light color that just keeps showing up when I make a mark. Actually, I don't mind stuff like that. I kind of think it's fun. But I'm not selling my pastels. I'm just doing this for fun. Okay, got that all off. Okay, and I'm gonna wipe that down again, just one more time. Okay. So now normally, as I said, I'd be doing this on plastic. And I'm doing it on, so I'm gonna, a piece of gator foam board. And I'm just doing a small one. I'm gonna get in here. I'm going to, let me go like this so you can see. I'm gonna just pull it out. Some of these that look like pieces, it's just the way they've stuck together. They're actually not pieces. They're gonna disappear. But just press them down. If you see something that looks like a little piece, just push it down. And the majority of the times what it is, it's just the way it has stuck together with the other particles when you're doing all that pressing down. There we go. Yeah, you can see that it looks like it's a piece, but it's actually not. It'll disappear. Okay, what we can also do is come in with this. Okay, I'm going to hit this, and I'm can't do it left-handed. I can go like this and I can wipe out the rest. There's a lot that can get left in there. And this is why you don't want something that's porous, because you don't want the particles to remain in the container. So if you were using, let's say, a wooden bowl, I know some wooden bowls probably are treated and then they aren't porous, but you know, that could retain some of the particles that you've been pressing. Okay, and I've got to use a little bit of muscle here because there's more down in there. We'll use that for now. I'm just going to put that to the side. Okay, so this is a fun part. I'm going to come in. I'm going to try not to make that noise. Ugh. Use the big one. Get it right in. Like I said, I used plastic. You can use the metal ones. That's fine. Big one does come in handy. Now I can see right here, going like this. This is what the big one comes in handy for. I'm chopping through and I'm looking, okay, do I have any particles? I've got some particles. I mean, this is a handmade project here that isn't one that I do a lot, so I'm usually happy when the particles are. You can press down if you see anything that's put them into a nice little pile here. This is gonna make a pretty, surprisingly, that's gonna make a decent sized stick. I didn't think I was gonna have that much. Another, just a tip, you have a color you don't like, you can just break it up, smash it down, and put another color in it. Let's say let's say you don't like it or you have a million of them. Let's say you have a ton of blues and they all fall in this range here, and you say, wow, I don't have any bluish greens. Well, you could break down one of your blues to blue violets, and you could just take and you could just add like a little touch of a yellow, a little touch of a yellow green. Even those, well, not that would start changing it too, but depending on how light you want it to go. So you could take this color and you can start turning it towards that. And if you have a stick you're not using because you don't like the color or you have too many of them, make a new stick. Okay, so this is where the distilled water comes in. Like I said, you can use regular water. I've used your regular water before, but they usually say to use distilled or filtered. So eyedropper. Okay, I'm gonna come in. You really don't need a lot of drops. So I'm gonna switch to the smaller one now. I'm just gonna make like a little hole right here. This is kind of like making mud pies. I put just a couple little drops in here. Stick, no, that's not gonna fit in there. I'll put that to the side here. And then, truthfully, it's always better to start with less. Look at the way that's bubbling up. Less water than too much. If you have too much water, you have to let it dry, or you need to add more pastel dust to it, and that becomes really a pain in the neck because then you're just, okay, put a little bit more in. Got a couple of drops now. Come back in. And you're going to notice as you do this, what happens is it starts changing consistency. Again, go slow, don't go fast. Because while you're doing this, you want to take, and I can feel the particles starting to stick together. See that? They're beginning to stick right here. Scrape them off with that spare one on the side. Oh, geez, that was silly. I went and put it inside the, thank goodness it's plastic. Okay, let's put a couple more drops. I'm going to put in a couple of different places. Not put it in the bottle this time. Go back.
How long is that gonna last?
And keep going back.
No,
Just if someone could check their
gonna let the sauce.
speaker. Can someone please check their speaker? We can hear you.
Yeah, because I didn't start until half an hour after she started.
Okay, let me okay. I got it. Okay, so we're going, and this is when you have to keep telling yourself, go slow, don't go fast. I'm not a pie maker, but I kind of think that's probably what pie makers do, don't they? Who's a pie maker out there? See, see the way I'm getting more crumbs now? And the other thing you'll notice is, look at how much smaller that pile feels there. Put a couple more, couple different spots. Okay, this is, yeah, it's starting to come together nicely. Okay, now I'm gonna switch, because now I need one that's a stiffer. Okay, this is a bigger palette. It's not gonna bend as much. I'm gonna come in here. You wanna have it just wet enough so that what'll happen is you can turn it into, I can use a little bit more now. I can kind of see, you kind of get used to. Now, let's say you didn't sieve it or you didn't check it. And at this point, guess what? If you have bristles, hair, dust, pieces of paper, they're going to be really obvious. So you want to keep an eye out for that at this point. Okay. Get that in here. This takes quite a while to dry, so don't worry that you have to go quick because it might dry on you. It's not. Oh, jeez, I got a little, I was talking, wasn't paying attention. Okay, hopefully that, nope, that's not too much. We're okay. So see the way this has started to change. Now, see this bigger paddle here? I can really push down. And actually, I'll be quite honest, this board is doing all right. This foam core board is what I was hoping would happen, because I do a lot of painting on it. And this side does not have the gesso on it, so, but I figured I had no, okay, now I'm gonna be careful. I'm just, because I don't want to overdo it. I'm putting 2 little drops in here. When you get to that point where it's like, you have to make sure it's really mashed. See the way I'm mashing that down? Okay, now you're making refried beans. Okay, you're really giving that a real sturdy push there. Knock it down. And I want it just a little bit more pliable. And again, a little drop in there. I'm gonna just scrape around the edge. I'm gonna scrape this guy. I'm gonna get all these little bits in here. This is why you wear 2 gloves, 1 on each hand. And as I said, you're going to be sitting there doing it. Notice all the dust that's around here. Now, we're not blowing things up in the air. You don't have to worry about that. We're working flat. But if I was going to be sitting here and doing a whole load, this looks pretty good. But see, I see the way, well, let's see if I can get that a little bit closer. Hang on a second. Might be easier. Okay, well, I want you to notice, see how smooth that is right there? Look at how grainy it looks right there. Okay, I want it to all feel smooth. So I'm going to put it a little bit more, just a touch more. I have to quit putting it inside the bottle. Tiny, tiny. I'm just going to, little bit. Now, if you're doing this and you're saying, oh my God, I keep doing this and I'm just not winding up with, let's really scrape that around. The other thing you can do is you could take and you could spritz it with, oh, this doesn't say on it, but I know it's rubbing alcohol because I can smell it. You could take and you could just do a little spritz of rubbing alcohol on there. Okay. The rubbing alcohol is going to dry quick. And clearly I want to make sure I get this done before the end. Oh, see, look at the way that's looking pretty smooth there. Well, that's looking really smooth. Oh, look at, okay, the cardboard's going right there. So now we know the limitations of putting it on this board. That looks good. Okay. This doesn't pick up quite as much. I don't really want to start bringing all those other little particles in because they've not been mashed the same, so. Now this is what we're gonna do. Make sure you get it all off, because you didn't do all this work to leave a pastel stroke behind. Put that over there. Okay, now. Two things you can do. I just always do it by hand. But if you wanted to, let me reach over, you can also make your shapes with parchment paper. So I'm going to show you the way I typically do it, and I just do it like you're working with clay, you're making old mud pies from it. Look at the way that's got up, except for the wrinkles from where my glove was. That's got a pretty consistent, I don't see, remember we were looking before for those dry patches? Not seeing dry patches, that's looking good. I'll go like this. Remember I said I like that rectangular shape? I can put that down there. And then I can flatten it. I try not to make them too thin because, you know, I mean, this is not a pastel factory. So the reality of it is oh, look at, must have picked up a little, see, here, let me move this forward. I can see a little particle right here. Okay, it doesn't like, the focus doesn't like this. I'm gonna put it back. Believe me, there's a little particle right there that I picked up. I'm getting it out of there. Okay. I'm lifting this up and I'm shaking that off and I'm flipping it over. Okay. So the one is you hand pat it. The other thing you can do is you can put it in, you roll it over to the end here and put it in here. You can roll it and you can roll it back and forth inside the parchment. Okay, now there was a wrinkle at the end, so I didn't do a very good job with that. So let me try that again. Get that around to do that. Like I said, I don't really do this that much. Clearly, Betsy. I'm leaving stuff behind. And then I have a nice stick like that. Those ridges remain. They're not going to flatten out. Okay. So I'm going to put this back here. I'm going to put this down. I don't want to put it back on this because remember, I don't want to pick up all those bits. And I'm going to flatten this. Now you can flatten it with your hand. The other thing you can do is you can get the palette out again. Palette. Knife out again. And I can just push it down. And I can flatten it. And let's say you say, don't want to go touching it too much. I have my alcohol again. I'm going to spritz it from afar, not up close, afar. If I see any, I've been handling it a lot. Once you get this, you want to not handle it a lot. And I've been handling it a little bit too much because I rolled it. I made one and then I showed you how to do a different one. And you can see that I'm starting to get like little fine crack marks right in there. And that's where I thought, ooh, maybe just putting a little bit of that rubbing alcohol on the outer surface. So we're going to leave it like that. We're going to let this guy dry. Now, believe it or not, this takes quite a while to dry. Okay, that's probably going to take, well, it's kind of, I would say, I'll probably test it this time tomorrow, but it might not be ready until the next day. So that, you know, plan on between 1 and 2 days. It's going to depend on how humid the air is, you know, the other factors, whether if you're down south and you have an air conditioner on, you know, maybe it's taking the, you know, the change in quality of the air. So maybe it's a little drier and not quite so moist, if that's what happens. Okay, so this is the one that I made before. That's a really pretty green. I'm really glad I did that. That's a very pretty green. So this is the one that I did before, and it comes, and this one has a little bit of, so you can see this one here wasn't quite, it dried like a little funky. Okay, so look at it, goes on fine. And then by the time you go around and use your edges, you get it down there. I mean, that just smooths itself out. So don't worry if you wind up having like little rough edges and maybe it dries and you have like a little bit of a crack. Long as what you've done is you've slowly mixed in the liquid. And then once you've slowly done that, what you do is you handle it as little as possible, but you've done all that work with this paddle, moving it back and forth. And that when you finally pick it up, you're just picking it up, you're making it and you're putting it down. And these guys too. You can hardly see that on there because it's a grayish color. It's not even worth showing you. This one would be fun. I think that one would be fun to do. But I think that worked out well. Just showing you one that you can take a variety of colors. And it would have changed even more if I'd put all those super light greens in there, but I stuck with that middle and I never wound up putting those little light ones in as it was. So any questions on that? I think I got it all. Oh, when you dry it. Okay, sorry. I have it on parchment paper. You don't have parchment paper, put it on paper towel. You do want it to just sit. You don't want to handle it, just let it dry. And parchment paper or paper towels is fine. And don't press it down, especially if you have it on paper towel. Because you know, if there's any fibers that are on top, they'll just make a mark on your pastel. So questions from anybody, and oh my gosh, you're gonna see my messy studio here. Okay, let me turn this around. Okay.
Betsy, I think this is a wonderful workshop. Thank you. This is Deborah.
Oh, good, thank you. Oh, well, you can't see me at all, it's dark.
You're dark.
I had everything set up for oh, there we go. A little bit, I had everything set up for
The show.
for the show, right? So the lighting on me is not quite right, but anyway, that's okay.
Well, if you put it on the paper towel, wouldn't the paper towel suck up any kind of moisture and maybe make it crack?
That's actually a good question. The paper towel might do that. That is possible. I know I've used paper towels in the past. I don't remember being a problem, but I wouldn't guarantee my memory is correct. I'm thinking the parchment paper is probably better.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a really good point. Very good point. Thank you for asking that question.
Thanks, Betsy. Yeah, I love this. Thank you for doing this.
No trouble at all. It was fun. Now I have another green. Just in time for spring.
It's a beautiful color that you made, a beautiful pure color.
It is a really nice color. And the thing of it is it's the same with a pastel. You know, when you look at pastels, the sticks, you don't necessarily always see the color the way that you know, it looks when it's on the paper. So the same thing's going to happen with you know, when it's wet. Right now it's wet, so it'll be interesting to see what it looks like when it dries. I'll try to remember to take a photo of it wet, and then we'll see what it looks like when it's dried in another couple days.
I thank you. I do have one more question on the sieve that you used.
Yep.
I think I missed that. Did you?
Well, it's because I didn't have a sieve.
How did you?
If you had like a tea strainer or
Yeah.
Betsy,
know,
the one, Betsy, the
sorry.
one you have is just a piece of plastic canvas.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's people use it for like stitching work. Truthfully, it's from when the kids were little and they did designs on this with yarn and a needle. Little, you know, kids needlepoint stuff, but I know it's not just kids that use it.
I was just curious as to how you used it. I missed it.
Oh, it was just really to make sure that you had any foreign particles. So, and any big pieces. So when before you can do it before, or you can do it afterwards. A lot of times you can see it by sight when you've got the big pieces. And then you just put it in a sieve and you just push it through. Or you
Okay.
take it through. And what happens is you wind up with being able to see your finer dust with, I don't even know if you can see that.
I can see it.
Any like little bits that are in there. So it's just really to kind of keep it as clean as possible with just.
Did you push through or not the when because you had some larger pieces. Did you smash those through, or is that just No,
No.
you put those in, put pestle and water,
I,
Well-
I used the grinding
the
first,
grind.
then I
Okay.
did it, but
Oh,
because the thing of it is if you have just too many, if you have big pieces, you can typically see, and
mhm.
strainer that I have really is not going to help until you actually have ground it down, and then you can push through all the ground bits and see how many larger particles you have left, or if there's like a
Mhm.
little piece of paper from the pastel wrapping that maybe you missed, or any number of things.
Thank you. Thanks,
Okay.
Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I loved watching this, and I loved how even when there was a mistake, or you just showed us how you dealt with it and moved on, and um, there are some videos I think on YouTube of some famous old pastel maker in France. Have you seen those?
Well, I know the big one is the Rocher
Yeah,
pastel.
yeah, I
So,
think
yeah,
that's it.
yeah, they
Yeah.
have been making they made pastels for Degas. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and
It just it looks so fun. I just want to do it.
And it's fun doing it with your, like I said, you save your little bits. I mean, some people, they have larger pieces. Truthfully, I use a pass down till I can't hold it anymore. So I don't take larger pieces and grind them up. But you can do any size, and you can, like I said, you can even take a pastel stick that you have maybe too many of, and you want to change the color of it, mix it with another color, a different value of the same color, and you can play around with just making your own sticks and come up with something new.
Thank you so much. This is fun.
Oh, good, thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much, and I will have to paint something with that stick. I'll let you know how it dries. If you're looking at it and you do feel as though you're seeing a little bit of cracks, once it starts to dry, you do not want to go spritzing it with the alcohol. But if you do start seeing cracks, like if I see any cracks within the next hour, I probably would go and try to, smooth them out a little bit. But truthfully, I find that even if there are little cracks, doesn't matter. We all know once you start using a pastel stick, it just smooths itself out. So I don't really worry about it. And the thinner you make them, the easier it is for them to break. So if you do like a thinner stick, just make them short. Make them up like the size of your pinky, or maybe a little bit smaller than that, because they do tend to break a little bit more, just because it's handmade. But well, thank you so much for coming. I'll be sending out the video of this, and then I'll also be sending out the information which for the next paint along. And again, it's going to be about value zones. The last one was value range, that was from very dark to very light, with the boat with the sun on it. And the next one, I've got a couple of ideas, but it's going to be a little bit of a narrower range. The narrower the range goes, the more work you have to do in, planning those value zones. So that's what the next one's going to be all about. So thank you again.
Wonderful.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Betsy. Thank you.
Thank
See
you
you
very
soon,
much.
Betsy.
Very
Bye
good.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.